everybody. Welcome to Hey Coach Tony. I'm Tony Fiorino. It is Saturday, June 18th. As you know, each week here on Hey Coach Tony, we discuss the pressing issues in youth sports, and as always, I like to hear from you. So we've already opened up the studio lines for you here. The number is 855-HEY-COACH. That is 855-439-2622. Hey, and as we're all gearing up for Father's Day tomorrow, I do not want to forget to wish all you dads out there a happy birthday. Remember that one from Ralph Kiner? Well, hey, all kidding aside, the school season is over. And throughout the show today, I'm going to be paying tribute to a handful of teams and athletes who really shined this spring. So if you want to get a little recognition for a special team or an athlete, feel free to call us here in the studio, and you can give your kudos out live on the air. The number again, 855-HEY-COACH. But before we get to some of your stories, I was thinking back this week on a few cases across the country of coaches who went nuts and ran up the score on weaker opponents. Now, like many of you, this is a real pet peeve of mine, so I thought it might be fun to discuss some of the issues surrounding blowouts and lopsided scores, why they happen, how to handle them, and the idiots who don't seem to understand the impact that these blowout games can have on a young athlete. Now, as many of you know, from time to time I am lucky enough to have somebody really special in the studio as a guest, and this week, well, we weren't so lucky, but I did decide to ask my brother John to join me. You know that John calls into the show quite a bit. He and the rest of my family are up at the house today. We're celebrating my son TJ's graduation from middle school as well as his birthday. So, by the way, happy birthday, TJ. Anyway, I thought John and I might have a few laughs talking about some of these blowouts and taking your calls. As like I said, John calls into the show every once in a while, and he's always got something interesting to say. So without further ado, let me welcome to the show. You know him as John from Long Island. John, thanks for making the ride up here from Long Island, and welcome to the show.
Very interesting to be here. Very interesting.
Yeah, well, hey, by the way, aside from discussing blowouts, and we haven't done this one in a while, there has been another case of a Mongo parent filing a stupid lawsuit that borders on the ridiculous. You know what? Actually, I'm being a little kind. This lawsuit actually borders on the mentally unstable. You're going to want to stick around for that later in the show, because when you hear what the parents are suing for, you will probably jump out of your shoes. Who knows? We may even have time to talk about some of the immature and moronic behavior of LeBron James over the last week or so. Again, it's all going to depend on how much time we've got. Anyway, like I said, that stuff's coming up later in the show. And like I said, throughout the show, I will be paying homage to some of our local high school and youth sports heroes. So John, getting back to the topic at hand, this whole notion of blowouts and running up the score. Let's face it, blowouts are just a part of youth sports. We don't like to admit it, but it's a fact. I don't think we'll ever really do away with blowouts, nor am I even suggesting that we should even try. I just sit and wonder sometimes, what's the best way for a coach on either end of the blowout to handle it? You know, we can talk about pretty recently, just this past spring, there was the coach in Dallas who allowed his girls to win, actually it was in the winter, allowed his girls basketball team to win a game 100-0. Granted, this guy got fired shortly after, and thankfully and rightfully so. We can also talk about the baseball coach who allowed his high school team to win a baseball game 53-0. We can talk about the stupid excuses that these coaches have. They've given excuses like, and I will quote, "We wanted to break the school record," or "We thought Susie Ann might be able to score 80 points," or my favorite one is, "What's wrong with playing to win?" Now, rather than blow my top right off right out of the chute here, I think I'd rather take a rational approach and try to discuss this intelligently. So let me ask you this, John. We were talking a little bit before the show on the ride up here. I was going to ask if you've ever coached in a blowout game, but I know that you have because everyone has. There was one game in particular that you were talking to me about. Do me a favor, walk us through this scenario about this game you were coaching in.
Okay, it was over this past summer, and we have a bunch of under 13s that Well, first time on a modified field. So
now, modified field is the 50-foot mound and the 75-foot bases.
Correct. And we're playing against a team that was a little bit more advanced than our team was. And you could tell that right off the bat from the beginning. And by the third or fourth inning, I think the score was 11-0, 12-0. Mm-hmm. And they were stealing bases. And I'm not talking about balls in the dirt getting by the catcher. I'm talking about double steals, trying to steal home, trying to get in a rundown to get another run in from third base.
Now, what's that play that, again, I coach older kids now, they're 14. Now, what's that play that I despise it, but you said that a kid would walk?
There'll be a man on third base, and the kid would walk, and he would just keep on going to try to get into a rundown so the guy from third base could score. And at this point, if it's a 2-1 game and you need to get a run in, that's okay. You're going to try to do it. The score's 14-0. I think at the point we were getting no hit, perfect game. I didn't understand the whole mentality about it.
So what was obviously there are coaches on these other teams. So what was the rationale? I mean, did you have any interaction with the other coach while this is going on?
If you consider shooting dirty looks and yelling, "Coach, what the heck are you doing?" Interaction. I was pretty annoyed because our kids were getting pretty dejected, and it didn't seem like they really cared about what we thought. Mm-hmm. And at one point, I think it was 12-0, and the kid came halfway down the line, third base line, to draw a throw from the catcher, and our catcher came up throwing, and the kid just walked home. So I turned to their coach, and I said, "Coach, it's 13-0. Mm-hmm. There's no. I'm not asking the coach not to hit the ball. Ask his kids not to play. Mm-hmm. Stealing bases in a game like that, it's totally out of hand."
So what was this guy's reaction to what you were saying?
He just shrugged his shoulders at me and kept on sending his kids.
All right. So you know what? Normally, I was going to say normally we don't call people out on the show, but actually we do. What team was this?
I'd rather not say.
Okay, I know what it is, so I'm going to say it. This team is the Long Island Bulls, and between you and me, they should be called the Long Island Bull Crap because that is just ridiculous behavior. And listen, folks, if you've ever been on either the winning or the losing end of a blowout, you've got opinions on this, so give us a call in the studio. It's 855-HEY-COACH, and it's 855-439-2622. I will ask you this, John. What advice would you have for a coach who's on the winning side? I mean, you got to sit through it and get your butt handed to you. What's the advice you give to a coach who is on the winning side of this kind of a blowout?
It's very easy. Get the kids in who don't get to play a lot. Get the kids in to pitch who never get to pitch. Okay? Work on some things like hitting the ball to right field, getting a good secondary lead, getting some kids in positions they never got to play, stealing 8 bases. One kid trying to break a record, how many bases he can steal, or how many runs they can score. It's ridiculous. You're not learning anything. Any coach who tells you he's learning or he's teaching his kids something is ridiculous. He's not.
Well, before I get to the next question, you said something that kind of jumped off the page at me. And by the way, John, when he's on the phone, is usually a lot more outgoing and riled up. And I'm going to give you a little background here on John. You said the kids aren't learning anything. Well, I remember a coach when we played together in college who tried teaching his kids something in the course of a blowout. Matter of fact, you in fact pitched in a game where we were getting blown out. It just happened to happen. You came in the later stages of a game. The opposing team actually attempted a suicide squeeze play. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about.
All right. Well, do you want to walk through the story, or should I do that?
You know what? I'll be a little more animated now. I'll walk you through the story because I think about it and I get really mad again. It's a freezing cold day in the fall. I had pitched the game before. I was not going to play. I was bundled up nice and warm. It's the last inning of a game. We're getting killed by some team. Our pitcher can't get the last 2 guys out. Mm-hmm. Coach looks at me and goes, "John, do me a favor. Just get in there, get these last 2 guys, and let's get out of here. We get to go home." Mm-hmm. Okay, I go in. It's bases loaded. We're getting beat by a lot. I do my warm-ups. I really don't want to be out there. First pitch, the kid squares, and they're doing a suicide squeeze. He lays the bunt down, And as I'm running to pick the ball up to throw the ball to first base, I'm cursing, yelling, and screaming. The only one cursing and yelling and screaming more was our brother Frank on the bench, who was chasing the kid down the first baseline. I threw the ball. We got the kid out of first base, and I turned, and the steam was coming out of my ears. My brother looked at me on the bench, and he knew what I was going to do, and I knew what I was going to do.
So did I. Playing third base, I was ready.
Next pitch, I hit the kid in the middle of the back. Okay? And the third base, and I remember, I'll never forget, the manager looks at me and goes, there was no reason for that. And I let loose. I was like...
Well, what was his excuse? He said, hey, we still got to, it's the fall, we're working on stuff.
Said, and you remember what I said to him?
Yeah, work on it during practice.
Someone else's time, not my time. I was so... You know what? That is ridiculous. That's putting it in someone's face. That is... You know what? There's a time and place, and people who play baseball or play sports know when that time and place is.
No question. And by the way, I don't want anybody to think that I condone, at least at the youth level, anybody throwing at anybody. But you know what? Any former baseball player and who's played at any kind of a decent level, here's the story you told about the little kids. And we say it jokingly, but we all say the same thing. What is it? Where's the next pitch go? Next pitch is in somebody's ear. And coaches like, again, Long Island Bulls out of Baldwin. I don't care. Listen, out of Baldwin.
You know what? I'm going to say it. They're supposed to be a good organization. What they put on that night, and from what I heard from other coaches who played against them, they all complained. They ran up the score on everybody. In matter of fact, I think they played down to be in our league.
Of course. So if you're the Long Island Bull crap and you're listening, I dare you to call the show. But you know what? I tell you what I will do. I'm going to take my studs from Team New York baseball, and we'll go play the Long Island Bulls, and we'll give them some old-fashioned Fiorino justice. How's that? All right, anyway, listen, before we go to break here, I told you I was going to start highlighting some of the local studs, and I got an email in from John Magnotta, who is the athletics director at New Rochelle High School. And, again, unless you were living under a rock, you know that Matt Duran, product of New Rochelle High School, has been drafted in the 4th round by our own beloved New York Yankees. But what you may not know is that another varsity athlete at New Rochelle, a guy by the name of Jeremy Court from the varsity tennis team, he won the Section 1 singles title for his 2nd consecutive year. He was the state, like I said, he was a state singles champion last year and was runner-up to states this year. So, John Magnotta, I want to thank you for sending me the email. We want to congratulate Matt Duran and Jeremy Court. And, terrific job, guys. And listen, before we go to break, if your kids are in need of orthodontic...
Coach Tony.
Hey, welcome back, folks. You're listening to Hey, Coach Tony on ESPN Radio this fine Saturday morning. Before we get back to the blowouts, folks, I do want to continue to highlight some of our local teams. And, this came in from, my beloved hometown of Somers, New York. The 6th grade girls lacrosse team finished up an undefeated season anchored by the one and only Sophia Fiorino. All right, I threw that one in. But you know what? I definitely want to congratulate this amazing team of 6th grade girls. They had an amazing season. They just dominated. They were really something to watch. I especially want to say thanks to coaches John and Joanne Erickson, who did an amazing job training these girls and enjoying an undefeated season while still getting all the girls an amazing amount of playing time and absolutely insisting that they adhere to an offense which consisted of passing. And if the open girl was a girl who couldn't catch, guess what? That's where the pass went. Great job, coaches. And I tell you what, from Daddy Tony, not Coach Tony, I want to thank you for making my kids' lacrosse season a special one. Well, we're here joined in studio by one of our favorite callers, John from Long Island, who just finished showing his true colors, talking about how he threw at a poor defenseless kid who just did nothing more than try to bunt on him in a college game. But, John, I do want to get back to some of this, and I do want to ask you, let's talk about the other side of the coin. You talked about this nonsense game you played against, and I'll repeat it. Apparently the guys in Malvern aren't happy about names, but guess what? The Long Island Bulls, who were just an absolutely classless piece of trash organization as far as I can tell. But let's assume you're coaching that other team, John. What about this other side of the coin? Your team is, your team is winning by a whole bunch. What exactly is the best way to handle this?
I think you just tell your kids to have fun try not to rub it in on the other kids. Try not to be loud and get in other people's faces about it. Try to get through the game and get out without, you know, it's a game. Everybody's going to try to hit the ball. Everybody's going to try to catch the ball. But try to get in without, just play with some class. That's the biggest thing I always say is, you know what, do your job, do what you're supposed to do. Try not to rub it in. We're all there to, everybody wants to win, but you know what, there's a way to go about it. And
yeah, I mean, we call it station-to-station baseball. Unless a ball rolls to the fence, don't take a double. Unless a ball gets past the catcher, don't steal. And those things, by the way, but there's something I want to talk about that, and we'll hit that in a second. But tell me about the flip side of this equation. Let's assume for a second, the situation that you're in. Your team was getting blown out. The other coach wasn't making any adjustments. What did you do? What would you maybe do differently?
You know what? You know what we did? In the fourth inning, I think we were getting beat by a lot. They did a double steal to score another guy from on. I went to the umpire and I pulled my kids off the field.
Okay. What was the rationale behind pulling the kids off the field?
They were trying to embarrass us. At that point, it was not about learning anything or teaching anything from the kids. And we were getting nothing out of it except the good old butt kicking. Mm-hmm. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with a good old butt kicking once in a while.
Sure.
But you know what? If you're going to try to put it in somebody's face, to degrade the kids, I have a bunch of great kids on my team, the Malvern Mudhens. And
nice plug, by the way, Malvern Mudhens. Okay.
I'll say it again, Malvern Mudhens. But and you know what? They deserve better. These kids were trying. First of all, it was freezing cold. The spring in Long Island this year it was brutal. But you know what? We could have stayed there all night, and they could have scored 35 runs. And then you know what? They would have tried to put up 40 on the board.
You're right. You're right. And there's only so much you can do. And I guess if you're at the point where a guy's just basically saying, I'm going to keep kicking your butt and rub it in your face, maybe that was the right thing to do. And hopefully you give the kids a lesson after the fact saying, listen, I would never coach that way. I would never expect you to act that way. And it was just an inappropriate environment, and that's why we pulled you guys out of there. Now, on the point you said earlier about getting other kids in the game, I got an email here from Jeff in Southington. By the way, if you want to email me, it's heycoachtony@gmail.com. But Jeff from Southington wrote in and said, hey, Coach Tony, I always hear people say that when you're winning by a lot, you should pull your starters and let the less talented players go in. What happens if you do that and you end up losing the game? That's a pretty interesting point, John. Let's say this guy from the Long Island Bulls, let's assume that guy pulls all his starters and puts in a subpar pitcher. Your team is not a bad team. I've seen them play. What if they come back, score 20 runs, and you guys win the game?
Oh, my God, no. Lose a game with a bunch of 12-year-old kids. Oh, my God. How are we going to wake up?
Well, hang on. Devil's advocate. This was a tournament, correct?
No, it was not.
Oh, all right. It wasn't a tournament. Was it a league game?
League game.
All right. Well, league game. You have standings. Listen, there's nothing wrong with winning. So I'm not going to be. All right. So I'm going to sit here and defend this Long Island Bull guy. But let's assume the guy says, hey, I do want to win the game. We're here to win. We're a competitive organization. As you said, that's not just a team. That's an organization. And they want to win. How do you explain to the guy if he pulls his starters and you wind up pulling ahead or even making it a 2-run game?
You're going to pull all 9 starters? What are you going to put 9 kids who never...
But let's say it's the pitcher. Let's say the kid had... listen, my Team New York roster, I got 23 kids. I can put 2 different lineups out there completely, but just get to the point, John. If he pulls his starters and he winds up losing, what's your argument for that? How is that justified?
Justified? There is no justification for it. What are you talking about?
See, I don't mind putting my brother on the spot. You sound stupid. All right, hang on a second. And the reason I ask this is because when my boys were younger, I think when they were probably 10, we were kicking the snot out of this team in Stamford. We're on a Connecticut station, so I probably shouldn't have said that one. But we were kicking the snot out of this group in Stamford, and it turns out this was the group that kind of went really, really far in the Little League sectionals. We didn't know anything about it. We just know that we're winning 10-1. We pulled our pitcher, gave a couple of kids playing time, and we won that game 11-10.
Oh, wow.
Well, you know what? You're never. I hope you're enjoying this because you're never coming on the show again.
It's a game between 12-year-old kids. Are you going to wake up the next day and be able to go to work? Oh, my God, we almost lost the game with 12. This is not professional baseball. Kids are going to... You think the kids really worry about it the next day? Do the kids worry about it? You know worries about it? The coaches worry about it.
Okay, granted, I got you on that. I guess what I'm saying is, and here's something that... by the way, if you're talking about a solution to this, which is what everyone's on the edge of their seat waiting for, Let me tell you what I have since done at the youth level. It doesn't play well at the older levels, but at the older levels you don't have as many 19-3 ball games. But if, let's say, I was coaching the Long Island Garbage or the Long Island Bulls, whatever they were, and we're blowing you guys away, I would probably, around that third, fourth inning, say, you know what, this is kind of pointless. Do you agree that this game's over and we won? To which you would say what?
Agreed. Absolutely.
Okay, great. So why don't we do this? Why don't we agree with the umpires, the game's over, we get the win in the books, but I'm going to pull all my starters, and you guys, don't tell your kids we're doing this, but we're going to pull all our starters. Let your kids have some fun. Let them go hit the baseball. Let them do what they're going to do, and let's just keep them happy in a competitive environment.
I like that. As long as the kids don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, you don't tell the kids that. But again, look what happened. The kids realized you were getting beat so bad that they had to get pulled off the field. Even if they realized that, okay, at least it's going to be, even if they knew what's going to really go through a kid's head. And now I'm having some fun and we're in a competitive environment. And that's really all they want. They want to win, sure. Do they want to get blown out? No. Is a blowout the end of the world? No. But rather than pull them off the field, if you can put them in a situation where they're still playing, they're still getting their work, and you know what? I would love to see a team come back and win a game like that, so at least everyone goes home feeling great.
Have you ever played a game where, when you're on the field, you knew right away one team was better than the other? You saw we weren't going to come back.
Every game I played. All right.
You on the other side of the field, don't worry about it. I used to do that when you got up to the plate. I knew right away I had an out in an inning. But, you know what I'm saying? We knew right away we were in a different category with this team.
Yep.
We weren't coming back. So we were going to try to make the best of the situation. It just got worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
And when we pulled them, it had to be like the bottom of the fifth inning or whatever. And most of the parents came over to us and said, great job. Because it was at the point, it was embarrassing for the kids. These kids were getting dejected. We got in the dugout and we did give them the speech of, you know what? This is nothing against you kids. You guys played your hearts out. Play with some class. If we're ever in this situation, we would handle it differently. But, you know what? Hopefully we never have to run into a team like that again, because you know what? It's supposed to be about learning how to play the game. Winning is a part of that. I understand that. When it becomes the number one part of that, there's something wrong. At that age, there's something wrong.
No, I think until kids are playing in school, or I like to say the 14-year-old level, and by the way, I coach the 14U for Team New York. By the way, I'm going to take a quick second to plug Team New York. This year, Team New York, we had 12 kids drafted in the Major League Draft, including a first-rounder. I mean, that's impressive stuff. But in all reality, as good as our 14U team is, and we are a nationally ranked team, and we're going to be at the Premier World Series in Joplin, Missouri in 2 weeks, we still treat the 14-year-olds as a learning experience. We still will, if a kid makes 2 mental mistakes in a row, we pull them, and we teach them. So even at that level, it's not all about winning. But at some point it does. I will tell you that 10, 11, 12 years old, you're not at that level yet, not by any stretch of the imagination. And I want to make sure people know that. But you know what? It's time to highlight another local athlete here, folks. And we're going to be doing this throughout the show. Got this email in from Weston High School, where Kimmy Guerin, a sophomore tennis player from Weston, has won the CIAC State Open Tennis Championship for her second straight year. Now, she's only lost 5 games, not 5 sets. She's only lost 5 games throughout this whole Open tournament. Now, on a lesser note, and that's according to Weston, so on a lesser note, the girls lacrosse team played in the state finals. I was supposed to get an update on whether or not they had lost, but I believe it was last Saturday. This was the first time that the Weston girls lacrosse program ever made it out of the first round of the state tournament. So I don't know why they're saying on a lesser note. I think it's a pretty serious accomplishment, girls. So congratulations to Kimmy Guerin and the girls lacrosse team at Weston High School on a terrific spring. You guys did everybody proud. Now, John, this is the part of the show where I'm supposed to say what a great guest you are and how much I enjoy having you on the program, blah, blah, blah. Let's not kid each other. I did you a favor and let you get some airtime here. But having said that, I still got to give you this for those people who are watching at home on YouTube. It's the Hey Coach Tony T-shirt here. Take it and choke on it. You just ruined my whole day. All right, listen, the shirt as well as my... Actually, give me the shirt for a second. Give me the shirt for a second. I forgot something. There, I just blew my nose in the shirt. Now you choke on it.
I was going to clean my car with it.
Yeah, now you take it home and choke on it. But listen, the shirt, as well as, hey, here's my Hey Coach Tony coffee mug. These are all provided by Signature Marketing of Connecticut. Be sure to call my friend Jennifer Holguin at Signature Marketing at 203-232-0868, and she will help you design the perfect promotional products for your company or your organization. Call Signature Marketing at 203-232-0868 or visit them on the web at www.signaturemarketing.com. And remember, if you know somebody, or if maybe you're that somebody who you think might be a great guest on the show, clearly better than John from Long Island here, just shoot me a note at heycoachtony@gmail.com, or you can call the Hey Coach Tony hotline after the show at 855-HEY-COACH. That's 855-439-2622. When we come back, we'll be taking your calls, and we'll be talking a little bit more about blowouts and hopefully getting into some stupid lawsuits. You're listening to Hey Coach Tony on ESPN Radio. Stick around. I'll be right back.
Coach Tony.
Hey, folks. Welcome back. You're with Hey Coach Tony this lovely Saturday morning on ESPN Radio. And before we get back to the action here and your phone calls, I did get an email in from our buddy Ray Tangway, the athletics director from Wolcott Technical High School. If you remember, Ray was a guest on the show I guess about a few weeks ago. Ray tells me that one of his seniors, a guy named Matt LeClaire, on the boys volleyball team, made the senior all-star team, made the all-state team, was named a member of the National Honor Society. He is a 4-year, 3-season athlete and an Eagle Scout to boot. Well, quite a kid. I hope he's taking the summer off and getting a little rest. Well, anyway, great job, Matt LeClaire, on a memorable senior year, and obviously we want to wish you good luck in college. So we're back here with John from Long Island, who has actually started asking me some questions during the break, and I figured rather than shelter you guys from my knowledge, we would just talk about it on the air. John, what were you going to ask me while we were breaking?
I was going to ask you as a player on the blowout side. You're winning. Did you want to stay in the game, or did you want to get out? As a pitcher, myself, I wanted out, because if we're winning, the kids in the field are not taking it as serious, they're not concentrating, and guys like yourself would just worry about your stats, how many hits you're going to get, and you're not worried about getting me my outs and getting me out of there. You're worried about your batting average. As a pitcher in a blowout, I wanted out.
Okay.
Get me to my point where I can get the decision and get me out.
Sure. You don't want to be throwing. I mean, as a pitcher, pitchers have mental problems to begin with, but as a pitcher, I can see why you'd be selfish and want to save your arm, why the rest of us have to continue to do the work. Now, to answer your question, I'm probably a little bit different than most guys. I knew a lot of guys that loved being in those games and loved padding their stats. My problem was this. And John's going to say some stupid stuff about this. I tended to eat up really good pitching. And I tended, when I would have a fall-down game, it tended to be against the teams we would blow out. I'll give you an example. Mount St. Mary's. Right? Remember we played them?
I hit a home run.
You hit a home run, and I wore the collar that day. It was 0 for 5. Because what would I do in a game like that? I would try to jack up and hit the ball out of the ballpark. So personally, I didn't like being in blowout games. I always did much better in a very competitive environment.
I agree.
I was better under pressure. I liked being in those situations just a lot more. But obviously, I'm a very special kind of guy, which is why I have a radio show and why I performed so well throughout my college years.
Can I ask you a question?
No.
Don't you need stats to actually pad them?
All right, here's where we get into the older brother garbage that I'm not even going to pay any attention to. But
stats. I got to pad my stats. Wow.
Well, like I said, I didn't pad my stats. Everything I did, I earned. All right. Anyway, there was another email that we had gotten in. Interesting point. It came from Steve in New Milford. Steve writes in and says, "Hey, Coach Tony, why is it such a bad thing for kids to lose? I think we're all trying too hard to shelter our kids and their fragile egos, and in my opinion, this is going to hurt them later in life. If a team works hard and is that good, why not let them enjoy their success and see the fruits of their labor?" Now, the Long Island BS artists, or whatever we're calling them today, that's a very drastic example, but I will tell you that I have talked to parents and coaches who are on the winning side of blowouts. And unless you consistently blow teams out, they all kind of say the same thing. Our kids work really hard to be this good. So why shouldn't they continue to play? They finally have a game. Let's say they got blown out last week. We're finally blowing someone else out. Why should we have to pull back the reins? How do you answer that one?
You know what? You still got to play the game. And we're not asking teams not to hit, not to try to get guys out. There's a fine line between trying to play the game and when you work hard practicing your skills in the game to another point where you're rubbing faces in it. to me, I've never ever. It's on me for my kids to get the other kids out, right?
Absolutely.
It's on me for my kids to hit the ball, right? When you see that you're on a different level than another team, and you're still going out of your way to do special, like suicide squeezes or double steals, that is going out of your way to say, you know what, we're so much better than you, and there's nothing you can do about it, and we're going to keep on doing it.
Yeah, I think if I saw a coach not do anything, like, listen, we've all been involved in blowouts, and you know what, if the other team just continues to hit the ball, what can you say? You can't say, hey, would you please stop hitting, or would you please stop throwing strikes? I mean, you would hope that at some point the tides would level off, and that is usually the case. And then again, for you coaches that are listening, there are things you can do, like go station to station. And by the way, I don't mind doing this. I make it very clear to everybody, because there are people in the stands, and perception is reality. They're probably thinking, boy, this coach is a jerk because their kids are still playing. I go out of my way to make sure they know, hey, we're not stealing. I will verbally, that's the verbal sign that I'll give to a kid on the bases. We are not stealing. We're not taking the extra base. Station to station. So at least the other coaches will recognize it, that you're trying.
And as an opposing coach, I respect that.
Of course you do.
I respect that. You're not trying to say we're so much better than you, we're not stealing anymore. It's, you know what? We're going to play baseball, but we're not going to go crazy with it, you know?
And again, this is the one that I really hope somebody was going to challenge me on. But you know what? Not enough people know about this, and I've never talked to anybody who disagrees with what I've said. When I travel and do seminars, all this stuff, no one has ever come back and say, wow, what a stupid idea. If the game is out of hand and you're the winning coach, don't be reactive. Don't wait for someone to say, hey, you're being inappropriate. Go to the other coach and say, you know what? This can't be fun for your kids, and my kids, quite frankly, aren't going to get anything out of this either. I really would like to put in another pitcher. I'd really like to put kids in different positions. I'd really like to do this kind of stuff. But I hope you can appreciate, we're in a competitive league, so if we agree that we've already won this game, let's tell the umpire that this game is over, but we're going to let the kids play. No one is ever going to say no to that. And by the way, no one is ever going to actually, you know what? I got to correct myself. I came across an idiot coach who actually said, no, we want a chance to win this game. And so I said, let me see if I got this right then, Coach Dopey, Coach Mongo. We should pull back the reins and stop scoring to give you a chance to beat us. How stupid is that?
It's stupid. That's stupid. You know
what? Well, what do I always say? If there weren't dopes like that walking the earth, I wouldn't have a show. So anyway, I had gotten a call earlier in the week, and I was hoping he was going to try to call in my buddy Rob from Ardsley, who occasionally calls into the show, but he did send it through in an email. Apparently he is at he's up in Saugerties, New York, at a girls' softball tournament. He wrote in and said, Coach Tony, I'm going to try to call, but the question I have for a coach who runs up the score is this. Are you doing that we just talked about this, are you doing that to pad the stats of the athletes? Some coaches do this so that in a league coaches meeting where kids are nominated for all league or all section, they have no arguments with the numbers. The argument is, in girls softball, for instance, you played 6 games against teams that were significantly weaker, and you ran up the score on these teams. For what reason? Not just to humiliate them. It takes a coach about 1 minute, and John, you said the same thing. It takes a coach about 1 minute during a game to figure out what direction the game is going to take, and if another team is outclassed. Most likely that happens at the very beginning of the game. He points out that the CYO, the Catholic Youth Organization of Westchester and Putnam Counties, in basketball a few years ago, they implemented a penalty to teams that would win a game by more than 25 points. Now, the coach might have to serve a game suspension. There's different things that happen. And Robs goes on to say, look, I've been on both sides of the games in many sports. I was a player, a coach, official, parent, league official. So I've dealt with the situation, and there's no SOPs in place anywhere. What's an SOP?
Standard operating procedure.
All right. Just lighten up, guy. Standard. Why the hell, Rob, why didn't you just write standard operating procedure?
You do have a college degree, do we?
Yeah,
not?
But it's from Mercy College. That's not worth a whole lot. Anyway.
Agreed.
The Mercy School of Broadcasting. Anywhere. There are no standard operating procedures in place anywhere but what's mentioned above. But each state should implement limits in certain sports. If you keep getting shot at, eventually you go down and might not ever play a sport again. I'm no wimp. I will not blow sunshine up any kid's rear end if they're not cut out for the sport. But if those kids are out there and playing a sport, I think it's the responsibility of the coaches on both teams to make the experience for those kids as positive as possible.
You know what? One part I'm just remembering. We felt that night that this other team was almost like trying to recruit by saying, look, we're so good that we're a travel team and you want to come play with us. Look what we're doing. We're beating these teams by 12, 15 runs. You should come play with us.
By the way, you nailed the one point that I was going to say, because it happens at the older levels all the time. If we're playing, especially if we're playing a good team, and we do see that there's another kid, and again, this is at 15 through 18 years old. Like I said, we had 12 kids drafted. This is the big time. If we see there's no better way to recruit a kid than to say, wow, you want me to play for your team? You just finished literally whatting all over us. It is a very effective recruiting tool. But again, not at 10, 11, 12 years old.
Because you can say to a kid, look, I'm deciding between Team A and Team B. We're on Team B and we just beat you. Bad. Why would you want to play for them? But like you said, at a certain age, you do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had kids who chose, for whatever stupid reason, not to come play for Team New York, and when we've played those teams, have I turned the heat up? You better believe it.
They might not want to play for you.
No, they're going to want to play for me. They're going to want to. You're saying that's why they didn't come is because they didn't want to play for me. All right, thanks for that vote of confidence. But I will tell you, it is a very effective recruiting tool. But I would never do that for a kid that is anywhere near that age. Like I said, even 14, it's a little bit tough to do. But a great point, John. And by the way, Rob, thanks. I think a lot of what you say has merit, and as usually the case, it really depends on what level of competition that we're talking about. You're talking about high school varsity softball, and that's important stuff. So anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk about another high school softball debacle that has to do with padded stats, all things being considered. Very timely email, Rob. But before we go to break, I got this in from Dane Street, who is the athletics director at Watertown High School. Watertown had a really good spring, 6 Naugatuck Valley League championships. They were for boys soccer, girls soccer, boys cross country, boys indoor track, boys outdoor track, girls outdoor track. Pretty impressive. And their co-op Watertown Pomperog ice hockey team won the Southwest Conference as well as the CIAC Division III championship en route to being named the SCA Team of the Year. Dane Street, thank you for shooting me that note, and more importantly, congratulations to all the boys and girls at Watertown High School, and also those Klingons from Pomperog who leached onto your hockey program. All kidding aside, great job. We're going to be back right after these messages, folks. You're listening to Hey Coach Tony on ESPN Radio.
Coach Tony.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Hey Coach Tony on ESPN Radio. I want to just one more time tell everybody that in advance of tomorrow, I won't do another Ralph Kiner joke. Just want to wish all the dads out there happy Father's Day. Hope you enjoy the ties that you get. And you know what? As a dad, by the way, I almost screwed up. There is no way I could mention 2 of my kids on the show and not mention my little one. My youngest daughter is a member of the FC Somers Stingrays. Now, for your information, the Stingrays is a group of girls that are 10 years old, and they are playing, however, in an 11-year-old league in the WYSL. In the fall, they went 5-2-2, which was pretty impressive. They came in second place overall, playing against 11-year-olds. But this spring, they really turned it on. They went undefeated and clinched first place, giving up only 3 goals the entire spring, 2 of which came on penalty kicks. That's pretty amazing stuff. They won the Iona tournament and the Beekman tournament, and according to their coaches, Ken Kurtz, Mario DeRubo, and Bob Heidi, Bob, by the way, who's been a guest on the show before, they are, and I quote them, they are a team on the rise, they are scary good, and they are great kids. Well, you know what? They have some great coaches, too. Terrific job, coaches, because I got to tell you, these girls are really something. They're something special, and they're a lot of fun to watch. So, again, as Dad Tony instead of Coach Tony, thank you for giving a terrific season to my daughter. Well, Rob sent us an email in before the break talking about how certain coaches will pad stats, specifically when it comes to all-league and all-county voting in girls' varsity softball. Well, guess what, folks? It's that time of year again. If you've ever listened to the show, you know how much I hate it when parents fail to use their mental capacities and resort to idiotic lawsuits over frivolous ideas. Case in point, I read an article by Darren Cooper of the Record Columnist in New Jersey. I'm going to go through a bit of it. And then you can call me and give me your thoughts. The studio line's open at 855-HEY-COACH. The article kind of goes like this, and I'll go through it quickly. Every year there are people upset with the players chosen for the all-county teams. They may call their coach. They may call their athletic director. Mike Paskus, however, called an attorney. Paskus' daughter, Allie, is a sophomore outfielder at Rutherford High School. Now, a year after batting just .271 her freshman year, Allie became one of the top hitters in the Bulldogs lineup, batting .571 and setting school records with 9 homers and 46 RBIs. Now, my guess is, first of all, they should start doing steroid testing. That sounds like a Lenny Dykstra single-season switch. According to the Bulldogs coach, Helen Anselidis, those are legitimate stats. Well, Paskus was awarded second all-team Bergen County. Another Rutherford player, Paige Goldsack, who batted .611, made the first team at a different position. Now, her dad, Mike Paskus, has been involved in sports and administration for more than 10 years. He's the president of the Rutherford Junior Football League and a past president of the Meadowlands Football League. Needless to say, he's a football guy. So let's see how this thing turns out. He feels his daughter, and I'm going to use the words in the article, must be included on the first team, and her exclusion is detrimental to her college softball future. He said he spoke to an attorney in Rutherford to discuss his options. Quoting, "I'm going to go as far as I can with this. This is going to end up in a courtroom. I'm going to bust their chops until they change their rules. It's not fair that coaches make deals on voting who should be all-county." First of all, you're assuming somebody's making a deal here. I almost said a bad word. We'll stick with Mongo. Anyway, as news of this guy's stupid threats spread among the softball coach community, a lot of them were outraged. One coach spoke on this requesting anonymity and said, "Hey, can I sue when a kid misses a practice or misses a fly ball or a grounder or misses a sign? This is why people don't want to coach anymore. Get rid of the system if this is what it's come down to, and have the newspaper pick, or just don't have the team anymore." Now, those are all great points, and as far as I'm concerned, but still there are others who think that this idiot Paskus has a point. One coach actually stated, "They screwed my players for 4 years. The system is flawed, and it starts at the top. This is the only sport that has problems choosing all-county." Well, first of all, I don't buy that. Second, get over it. I'm going to continue with the article. The all-county selection process is mysterious to parents and players alike. The general idea is a group of coaches get together, they go over the stats, team results, and they also use their own eyeballs to pick who they think are the best players. This year, there were 10 voters. The coaches from the teams that won their respective divisions participated, and it's hoped that a lot of those coaches would have seen the players in person. Now, that's one admitted flaw in the process. When coaches are busy with their own team, they can't always go see the other kids, and that's fine. Another factor is its weight is given to the performance in the county tournament. A look at this year's list shows that 20 of the first-team players, 12 of them came from teams in the Final Four. By the way, a lot of sports do that, right? All right. Paskus's biggest beef is that his daughter's statistics are superior to almost every other first-team player. But it must be stated that Rutherford didn't win its league. They lost in the sectional final and was defeated by Paramus Catholic, blah, blah, blah. This guy has been emailing his concerns to the Bergen County president. This guy declined to comment, but he did write this guy back saying the selection process is not based solely on statistics. Contributions to the overall success of their teams are also taken into consideration. So this guy says the process isn't perfect. He's admitting that. But he said, by the way, as a sophomore, being the 5th outfielder in Bergen County is a great achievement, and I hope you will be able to appreciate that someday. Blah, blah, blah. Paskus went on to say, this idiot, he doesn't care about any damage he could be doing to his daughter's future. And he said if she batted .571 and didn't make it, what else does she have to do? You know what? I got to get right to my garbage on this story because there's a couple of things that jumped out. First is, all right, his biggest beef is that his daughter's stats are superior to almost everybody else. I tell you what, teach your kid the importance of being a team leader and teach her that softball is a team sport, not about being an individual. Going back to the start of the article, John, he says his daughter must be included on the first team and her exclusion is detrimental to her college softball future. No, it's not. You know, you're shaking your head. Do you know what is detrimental to her softball future, John?
Her father.
There you go. Thank you. A knucklehead father, an idiot father who pisses off coaches. Why don't parents get that? This kid's a sophomore, has 2 more years of productive play. And do you think college scouts are going to want to deal with this problem parent or any problem parent if they can possibly avoid it?
Absolutely not.
What a dumbass. I said it. What a dope. What a mongo. Dear God. And by the way, to follow up to that, yeah, okay, not making the team is detrimental to her future. So this guy obviously cares about his future, right? No, because you heard me just say, he doesn't care. He said, I don't care about any damage I could be doing to my daughter's future. This loser came right out and admitted it and contradicted himself. By the way, the only thing the guy in the article screwed up when he wrote it was not pointing out how stupid this is. This is detrimental to her future. But by the way, what I'm doing, I don't care if it's detrimental. In other words, I can screw up my kid's future, but you're not allowed to.
Did they talk to the young lady in the article at all?
No, I don't think she was quoted anywhere in the article.
She must be embarrassed.
She's got to be embarrassed because then they talked about this thing saying, my daughter is all fired up. Really? You know what? Guess what? Get your Mongo brain out of the middle of this, because you know what? I'd be fired up too. If my father was publicly humiliating me and potentially ruining the game that I love, I'd be fired up too. So, Allie Pascus, if you're listening, and you're not, but that's okay. If you're listening, my heart goes out to you. I feel so terrible that you have a parent who is just so meddlesome in what you're doing. There was one sentence at the end of the article that really, I think, sums this stuff up. And this is where Darren Cooper wrote, "You wonder sometimes whether this means more to the kids or to the parents." Darren Cooper, if you're listening, and you're not, but that's okay, take a bow, because you just summed up 99% of what is wrong with youth sports. And I say youth sports, that's all the way up through high school varsity. You rarely hear about kids who screw things up on their own. Kids tend to screw things up based on what they hear from their parents, or worse yet, what they watch their parents do at the games. Do you disagree with that?
Absolutely not. You know what? Have you ever been bypassed for an all-star team? I mean, have you made an all-star team?
Well, I believe I've made the all-star team every single year that I was ever playing a game.
Relax. Have you ever been bypassed? Have you ever felt like you should have been on an all-star team and you didn't make it? Somewhere along the line.
I was nominated All-American my senior year at Mercy College because, and I'm going to roll my stats, I was 20th in the nation in batting average and I was 10th in the nation in RBI. I thought I should have gotten All-American.
Okay. You didn't make it, right?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So,
and by the way, that was detrimental to my ability to get drafted.
Because look where you are now.
Because now I'm sitting here speaking behind a mic next to my freaking brother instead of like Bobby Valentine who's supposed to be here.
And here's my point. What did you do about it?
You know what?
Did you contact a lawyer?
I didn't know you could. I probably should have. No, but all kidding aside, I knew I was good, and I knew I deserved a cup of coffee in the minor leagues. I didn't really believe in my heart I was going to become a major league ball player, but yeah, you get pragmatic about it. You say, you know what, would it have been cool? Yeah, I think it would have been really cool. But again, that's a 21-year-old, 22-year-old guy who's saying, gee, this is something I could have done. The short answer is, I've never heard of any kid contacting an attorney. All you hear about is who? Mom, dad, coach. The adults are the ones that step in and do really, really stupid garbage.
So now you're going to contact the attorney if you didn't get a high enough score on a test during the week?
But you never hear about that. Do you ever hear about a parent? You hear about parents assaulting coaches and referees. You ever hear about parents assaulting a teacher when a kid fails a test?
Nope.
No. What does that tell you? Listen, I love sports. And I know that my kids are going to get, and all kids are going to get a tremendous amount out of sports. But that's what it is. You know, I see these guys, and I'm telling you, the guys who have their kids in sports all year round, the kids don't choose that. The parents do. The kid that gets benched because his father or mom came out and either punched the referee or argued with the coach inappropriately. These are people who have got their priorities completely out of whack. And what they don't realize, even if you win the argument, it negatively impacts your kid.
Absolutely right.
So, by the way, this dope Mike Pascus, he's going to sue. And guess what, Mike? You're going to lose. You're going to lose. You know why? Because these guys came out and said it's not just about stats. They came out and said it's about how you help your team, how far your team gets. You know, this is just objective. If there was a batting title and your daughter had the highest batting average and they gave it to somebody else, then sue. You dope. See, you ruined my Father's Day. I hope your Father's Day stinks, Pascus. You bum. All right, anyway.
Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Listen, John, all kidding aside, thanks for being here with me. Folks, another busy hour, another quick hour of my life gone by. I want to thank you for the emails, the thoughts, and the calls. Please be sure to tune in every Saturday morning at 9 for Hey Coach Tony. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the weekend. Happy Father's Day.